Hey everyone, it's Hayes, and today we're going to be doing my theory video for the final episode of Miraculous Ladybug Season 6 in Nemesis. This season has been on for what has felt like ages. When did it start? When did the first episode air? Was it over a year ago now? I don't even remember. It was. Yeah, I had another job when this season started. In this time I have changed jobs. Anyway, let's just get into it. As always, if you've seen the leaks and as a result know some of what I'm saying is correct or incorrect, I would very much appreciate it if you keep it to yourself. I don't want to know. There's a reason I don't look at the leaks. I don't want to know. Thank you very much. And I also want to state, a lot of the comments I was getting about like ideas and stuff were directly mentioning Tom and Sabine and like the pizza party from her birthday they never got to go to. Whilst I love the ideas and I think they're super cute, we've been told that Secret Protocol and Nemesis aren't connected in a part 1, part 2 like other season finales have been. So if they were connected, I think you'd totally be along the right lines. But since they're not, they're two separate episodes. I do think, don't get me wrong, Secret Protocol will have some influence. They're not going to be connected quite like that, but I'm not sure if everyone knows that. Just want to say it at the top of the video. Anyway, I think we open with Adrien and Marinette. Marinette isn't having a good time. Like I said, they're not directly connected, but obviously the events of Secret Protocol are going to have some influence on Marinette. So as much as I want to see what the dynamic with her parents is like, I don't think we're going to get it in this episode, unfortunately. But Marinette is a little bit alarmed. Adrien rings her. Again, like I said, she's being very paranoid recently, as we saw in Secret Protocol. And he's like, hey, look at this museum/exhibit I'm putting together for my father. His dad, or a statue of his dad, is where he usually stands with his computer. There's mannequins covered over. I'm assuming it's not quite ready since there's ladders in the back. And over on the left we can see like a roped off area like you would get in a museum or an art gallery. And I'm assuming it's like to honour his memory as a fashion designer, since it seems to be, a fashion exhibit since it's in his office. I would go along with those lines. Now, I'm assuming Adrien hasn't done this on his own. Perhaps he's done it with Natalie. Perhaps he's done it with someone who's a member of the kingdom on the council, like Noe, for example, which would be terrifying, since as we know, Noe did want to buy Gabriel, so maybe this is a way in. If he can like help Adrien move on a bit about his dad, he may be willing to sell the business, possibly, I'm not sure. And on the call, Adrien's like, oh my god, we could maybe, that portrait I asked you for of my dad, could we have it in for the exhibit? I think that'd be great. And Marinette's like, sure, but obviously by this point she has ripped it up because of what happened with it. So Marinette is just like, what do I tell him? I don't know, like, I ripped it up, I don't want to draw it because of what happened last time, absolutely not, no, I don't want to do it. So she starts to panic, he calls her again. She doesn't answer, she's just too gone. And I think at that point we move to the scene with the Miraculous. Obviously, again, not directly linked to Secret Protocol, but I think they're basically going to practice more contingency plans, see what's going on. So they gather together and she's like, okay, here's what I want us to practice. And they basically all gather on FaceTime in different positions in the city. And Ladybug sends Cat Noir, Roosterbold and Pegasus to Marinette's house. Now, there are two technically Marinettes here. We have one Marinette in the bedroom, in her own room, and then we also have Ladybug, which is obviously Marinette. Now, at this point she is with Rena Rouge, as we see here, and so as a result I think this Ladybug is an illusion. The call is done off Rena Rouge's flute, and Ladybug is just talking to Cat Noir through it, and the other heroes are, we have Ryuku and Polymouse somewhere else outside, and everyone else is in the metro station, obviously apart from Cat Noir, Pegasus and Roosterbold. So I think the Marinette in the room is real. The reason why I'm saying it is because an illusion Ladybug is safe with Alya, because Alya knows not to touch her, right? Whereas the other heroes wouldn't know, and it also, if any of them ever suspect Marinette is Ladybug, this will kind of confirm to them that she's not, in case maybe any of them are truly working with Lyla. Because for some reason everyone suspects Mark, but Mark is my son and I will cry if he's the traitor. So sad. As for why they're in Marinette's bedroom, as we saw in Destruction, Marinette has come up with this story that Ladybug kind of confided in her with some sort of things, and she's also, known as using the mouse Miraculous before, so Marinette is kind of like this volunteer/civilian ally for Ladybug. And then I think they all reconvene at the metro station, and Ladybug and Cat Noir let them all know how well they've done, which I hope is good, but I think in the end all this planning will be for nothing. However, afterwards Alya is like, Marinette, I really need to talk to you. They go back to hers, and Alya's like, look, I understand you've got a lot going on right now. However, I need to talk to you about Gabriel and what happened with Monarch Daddy, because the story you've told everyone, I have tried it 65 different ways with illusions, and like I think at this point she transforms and shows her like, I've done it this way, it doesn't add up, I've done it that way, it doesn't add up, like with the sequence of events she's told people, the things that are public information, it doesn't work. So Alya is like, you need to tell me what happened, and I think Marinette at first kind of refuses, or she's a bit like, yeah, I don't want to tell you the truth so you're not in danger sort of thing, but Alya forces her. Marinette tells her what really happened, and Alya isn't impressed. Maybe not quite as angry as she is in Revelator, but as you see her on her face, she isn't happy, and she says something to the effect of, it's not up to you to decide who gets to keep these secrets, who gets to know, right? So I think a lot of people think this argument between Alya and Marinette is staged. Personally, I do not. I think it is real, in my opinion, but please feel free to disagree. So Marinette goes up on her balcony, she's devastated, she loves Alya, but this is a massive fallout and there's no Cat Noir to do a miraculous Cat Noir to erase her memory. This is permanent. So Marinette starts crying. Chrissy Pop notices and she sends an Akuma swiftly to Marinette. However, Marinette starts the sequence, but unlike in Heartfixer, she manages to break out of it. However, at that point the Akuma flies off, so Marinette knows, oh, someone else is probably going to get Akumatized, so she transforms ready and she leaves. However, over Alya is also very, very upset, or perhaps she'll even make it to house, maybe she's in the park or something, and Alya gets Akumatized into Nemesis, this statuesque flying Akuma villain, and she heads straight for Marinette because Nemesis is about revenge and seeking balance and seeking justice, so she goes straight for Marinette, goes to the balcony. However, Marinette isn't there, so she takes off as she goes to find her, and perhaps, I don't know, maybe Marinette, so it was Alya getting Akumatized, so Ladybug goes to Alya's, but Alya has already cut her off, and a fight ensues between them. As for Nemesis's power, this light, I'm assuming if it touches you, you may be paralysed, or you may also want to exact revenge on someone, I don't know, but Alya, obviously knowing Marinette is Ladybug, is going for Marinette since that's the person who hurt her. However, that is very, very dangerous, since, of course, she knows Ladybug's identity. So, big ol' yikes to that. So we know for definite involved in this Akuma fight are Ladybug, Cat Noir, Pigella and Capri Kid, and I think to some extent Cat Noir, Pigella and Capri Kid are kind of like doing distraction for Nemesis, so Ladybug can get away to try and find out where Chrysalis is. Honestly, just from what we know from the rest of the trailers and all the clips and images we've seen, it seems Ladybug has worked out Chrissy Pop is in the catacombs. There are only two ways I could think of that this has happened. Is one, the chef's hat Marinette gave to her uncle in Secret Protocol had the tracker in it, which prior to Secret Protocol would have sounded like a really weird thing to say. However, after seeing Secret Protocol and seeing all the Bruce Wayne / Batman type technology she's got, no, it doesn't really anymore sound that ridiculous. Or two, Marinette has been investigating what she knows about Chrysalis, which isn't a great deal, off screen. A lot of things this season, to my dislike, have happened off screen. It's annoying. Not really much I can do about it. I would hope something like this didn't happen off screen. But yeah, again, I'm not sure what clues she could have gathered, but I think Cat Noir, Pigella and Capri Kid could be like a distraction, basically, for Nemesis, since they seem to be able to move incredibly, incredibly fast. However, Nemesis gets into a direct fight with Cat Noir, and Chrissy Pop puts an anti-Kuma on him, which depowers him. To be fair though, they do seem to be solved quite easily. You just de-transform and then transform again, and you'll be fine. But obviously that makes you vulnerable whilst you are de-transformed. I know a lot of people saying, well, maybe they purposely get Alya Akumatized so she can tell Marinette more about the Butterfly Miraculous holder, but as we know, you don't remember anything when you're Akumatized, so unless Alya is even more amazing than I initially thought, I don't think she can actually do that, sadly. So again, maybe it's some sort of tracker. Marinette ends up in the catacombs, but if you know anything about the catacombs, they are quite literally a maze. I would assume Marinette hasn't been really down there, because unless you go on the tour, you have no reason to, and I would assume Lyla's lair is not on the tour. If you've been on the catacombs tour in Paris, I have, there's a lot more other catacombs than just what you see. They are massive, absolutely huge. So Lyla is obviously hiding in the unauthorised sections of the catacombs, the bits that aren't safe for the general public to view. However, I would assume, since it would be a very dissatisfying finale, if Ladybug didn't find her, it's like, oh, I got down here. I don't know where she is though. Oh, sorry, bye. They end up meeting, they have a fight. I don't think either of them is going to win, it's going to end in a stalemate, but of course Marinette will end the season knowing what her enemy now looks like, which I think will be very, very interesting. I then think, like, kind of the ending of the episode is Marinette will go to Adrien, perhaps Alya is threatened, like, if you don't tell him, I'm going to tell him. So instead, Marinette goes to him and kind of tells him half of the truth, in that she doesn't like Gabriel because of what happened, for example, between them in Pretension. He was very, very horrible to her in Pretension during that kitchen scene with the pancakes. So perhaps she starts with that and she's like, look, I know you want me to do this portrait, but I just can't. I can't do it. So she doesn't go into the Monarch stuff, but she tells him something, at least, which I know is not great. She should tell him the whole truth. Should have told him the whole truth back in the London special. I agree with you all. But I just don't think the season's going to end with Adrien finding out the truth. They will know eventually, I'm pretty certain, but just not this season. And then hopefully when he does, they will break up, and it will be all the drama I've asked for in my life. And then in terms of this episode ending with Lyla, I think she'll maybe go to Tomaway and be like, oh, my lair is compromised, I'm going to need a new one. Obviously she can't stay there if Ladybug's found out where her lair is. And Tomaway's like, that's fine, that's alright, whatever, I'll get you sorted. And maybe the kingdom comes into this at that point. I'm not sure, but I would love, assuming I've been correct all this time, I would love this season to end with a confirmation that Lyla is Aglaé, or at the very least some more hints about how she's been getting around Paris and spying on everyone. And also maybe an answer to the lightning. The lightning would be fun. I don't know. Honestly, I think they might have forgotten about the lightning, if I'm being fair with you. But I know a lot of people think Nemesis is an illusion, or Ladybug fighting Nemesis is an illusion. However, this screenshot of Nemesis picking Ladybug up, they wouldn't be able to touch each other. They would disappear, so I'm pretty sure that neither of them are illusions. But anyway, besties, that is everything I have. I can't think of anything else unless they released even more clips and screenshots and trailers and anything else. I think we have enough. Let's not do any more. Because honestly, I'm not really sure how this episode is going to end. I was pretty certain about Secret Protocol, not so much about this one. So I very much like them to keep it under wraps. But as always, I won't be able to film my commentary until Monday because I have to work all weekend. I'm very, very sorry. But I'm still excited for the episode. I'd love to know what you all think of my theories, and I will see you in the next one.